Hello, everybody. Brian here from QuantLabs.net. My previous video, I forgot to mention about crypto ETFs. So I'm going to talk about that because that's pretty lengthy. I'm going to give you an updated view of how I think crypto will go, namely Bitcoin. Um, so let's look at to get to where you want to go. Just come to quantlabs.net/blog. Go under analytics, and then you'll see a pull down menu. ETF Deep Analytics is where you want to go. What I would do is I would like scroll down to this right here under crypto and Bitcoin. Right now with crypto, let me just pull up the chart for the own right now the legal. There's actually two now. Vico, which I believe is I can't remember. Ito, I think it is. Ito, yeah. ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF. So this is one of the only ones you can trade right now. So let me pull up uh, just as an example here of year to date. So this is a good comparison actually. So you have Nvidia up 183%, still kind of pumping um, along, but you can see the steady decline in Bitcoin. Now I have nothing against Bitcoin overall. I've done very well with Bitcoin. Thank you very much. Along with crypto itself. So I've played around with Coinbase, I've played around with Kraken. Binance is where I've done well. But Binance, unfortunately for them, they're kind of passe, I think. And that was due to what I saw with the Russian invasion, Ukraine, and just the silly. Uh, they basically Binance helped facilitate the oligarchs in Russia to get their money out and then dump it into Dubai where they bought property, a lot of property in Dubai. That's a fact. And that's now coming out why the US government's suing Binance. Um, but when you look at this right here, Beto, you could see the steady trend. I mean, 23%, and then some of the Bitcoin go, well, it's still the number one asset. It's like, really? How's that possible when you got now just one stock, Nvidia, up 180%? Now, it's still moving up, right? But I want to specifically focus on Bitcoin. So when it comes to ETFs, no matter what you buy, the problem with ETFs is they only trade between Monday and Friday. So it may change and may have changed, but unless you're trading an ETF 24/7 on top of Saturday, Sunday 24/7, um, the ETF's not going to do well for you. Why? Because when you look at, as an example, let me pull up BTC itself. Okay. So when you look at what's happening with BTC, let's say over the last 5 days or even one day, you can see here it's negative, right? So that's active. That's live on Labor Monday, Labor Day Monday. Okay. So what's happening right now with the US markets? Well, they're closed. So if you have uh, a declining, like let's say this happened on a Friday night or a Saturday, this kind of drop, 27 to 25,000 on a weekend. And what happens to your ETF, Bitcoin ETF? Well, your ETF's going to have a big gap down and you can't close that out until Monday. So what I'm telling you, it's very dangerous to rely on these Bitcoin ETFs or any crypto ETF, it's Ethereum, whatever. They're just dangerous to have in your portfolio when the collapses happen. And they do, and they happen frequently. And I think there's going to be a lot more collapses coming. So I do not recommend owning any Bitcoin ETFs. Okay. If you have solid momentum like you had in the last 5 years here and here, sure, own the ETF. It's easy money. But when you have these collapses and these high risk volatility, I would not own the ETFs whatsoever because you're going to gap down on weekends and you could gap down hard. So take that as lesson one. The ETFs themselves, especially the BlackRock ones, you may have not heard, but from what I understand, is that BlackRock's getting decimated now on the ESG. How do I know that? If you go into TradingView, okay. So if I look up TradingView right now as an example, and I use TradingView as a proxy to know what's going on. So if I have BlackRock, so BLK, let me show you how often BlackRock is talked about. Okay. Nobody is talking about BlackRock at all. Um, let's see here. Uh, okay, let me get rid of that. Okay, so here's BlackRock. So it's not done very well as a stock year to date. It's had a really bad time. So what's happening is people have a backlash against BlackRock, the stock itself. And what's happening is it's the ESG movement. A lot of people are waking up to this, and you will not find a Vanguard stock because it's private. I've looked. Let me just see if there is. I don't think there is. You will find Vanguard ETFs, yes, but not Vanguard stock. And there's a reason for that. It's private. It's private. And that's where all the wealthy family offices, Rothschild, as an example, are in on that. Big, huge private holders of Vanguard. It's back to BlackRock. So what's happening to BlackRock is a huge backlash against BlackRock. See the stock price. So what's happening is BlackRock are now moving into the crypto space because everybody loves crypto. So what they're doing in their deceptive waves is two things. They're bringing out a Bitcoin ETF that will focus on obviously Bitcoin. Um, and this is where it gets really sketchy as these big multi-trillion dollar asset. So just so you know, BlackRock has bought and doing the exact same thing with the Bitcoin mining companies. Right? Let me just pull up a story here. So here you go. So they've invested into Marathon, Digital, and Riot. Right? These are large. I think it was 4 out of 5 of the largest Bitcoin miners. So why would Bitcoin all of a sudden have an interest in Bitcoin itself and now the miners? As I've said this before, Bitcoin, everyone thinks that Bitcoin's decentralized. That is utter bullshit. And why I say bullshit? It's simple. Who controls the supply of Bitcoin? Ask yourself. It's the miners. There's about maybe 10, and a lot of them are US based. Okay. So who controls the Bitcoin supply are the miners. And then they sell that back to the exchanges for us, the little people, to buy. So why would BlackRock now put money into the miners? Well, it could be obviously for ESG reasons, for environmental, climate change, and all that BS. But it's more than that. It's a more nefarious reason. The nefarious reason is very simple. Very simple. They're doing it to control Bitcoin and Bitcoin supply. So they'll probably through their in and out waves, the same with Vanguard, to buy into these mining companies. There's other private entities that nobody knows about that will put money into these miners. And you won't know because they don't need to declare that in their declaration from the mining companies because they're publicly listed. So as more and more of these nefarious companies and investors put money into Bitcoin miners, then they are now controlling the price of Bitcoin. Now you may say, well, Ethereum, blah 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 blah. There's like VanEck is going to bring out a Ethereum, uh, Ethereum uh, ETF. Can they control the price of Ethereum? I don't know. I can't say. But when you look at two big movements right now, I think this is what will happen over time. Vitalik Buterin, the guy who created Ethereum, acknowledges there's a problem with the transaction fees, the gas fees on Ethereum. They're working on it and they can drastically reduce that. Once that happens and everything's put on something like, let's say, what's it called, Uni, the coin. I've lost so much interest in Uniswap. So with Uniswap, this can be as big as Coinbase. So if you go to uh, coin market, what was it, coin market cap? Okay, this is now, remember, owned by Binance. All right. So if you look at the exchanges, I haven't looked at this in a long time. The spot is what you need to look at. Because not there's not a lot of volume being pumped through the futures comparative to the spot market. But when you look at the exchanges, you got Binance, there's over 40-50% of the market share. Coinbase, so you look at the trading volume, let's say over the last 24 hours, and see how Binance is 10 times bigger than the next biggest, which is uh, Coinbase, Coinbase, and then Kraken, because people are wising up that Kraken is a good broker. That's who I use, or a good exchange. They're the only good exchange, especially out of the US. They're the honorable exchange. So if you want to avoid the ETF, you want to trade in the market of crypto, I strongly recommend you go with Kraken. Okay. So that's a lesson to be learned there. But what needs to be understood is you look at the DEX and you look at here 325 million is that million, and you compare that to the other spot exchanges, you can clearly see that it's probably as big as Kraken. Now this might not be a big deal. Now I don't know what this, well, that's Polygon or DYDX. These are all decentralized. These matter, okay, and these are where the uh, big investment ETF providers like BlackRock will probably not be able to get into. And this is where the action is going to take place because these are fully decentralized. And they don't have any corporate interest in them, as far as I know. So you want to be participating here outside of the system. Kraken, yes, as long as there's no corporate interest in them, looking at the volume. I don't recommend Coinbase Exchange. I definitely, it's hard for me to say this. I would probably wouldn't go with Binance. I just don't trust them anymore. So your two options are either Kraken or DEX, which is Uniswap. Polygon, I'm surprised that this is getting that big. DYDX is questionable because you got all the characters of Mark Andreessen, CEO, Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, part of that. So I'd be careful there. But definitely Uniswap's okay, and maybe this Polygon, I can't say, I don't know it. But this is the danger now of ETFs with crypto, namely Bitcoin. And I know people get bent out of shape on your Bitcoin is not a crypto, please. Anyways, Bitcoin is now going to be controlled and really hindered in its performance with BlackRock and the like, because they're now kind of having a say over this. And as I said, those exchanges I mentioned, with BlackRock, who they've invested into, um, yeah, I think you got to be very leery there because if Coinbase, BlackRock's invested in these Marathon, Riot, and other ones, that's how they're going to control the price of Bitcoin because they control the supply. And yeah, and BlackRock's just one company. Okay, there's many others. Vanguard's the other big one. You got Fidelity. You have what's the other big one? State Street, another big one. Between those, you're probably looking at $20 trillion asset manager, um, or assets under management. So you think those players are going to have a huge say what happens to Bitcoin? Yeah, they will. And remember the value of Bitcoin itself, um, the spot. So we've got 4 trillion dollars there. I'm sorry, 4.5 billion has been traded on. Sorry, we want crypto itself. So right now, market cap, it's only half a trillion dollars. Okay. So remember in its peak, uh, for crypto, it got up to 200, sorry, 2 trillion, not half a trillion, where it's at now. So yeah, BlackRock will and the like and their pals will likely manipulate the price of Bitcoin now. The only safe place to go for now is probably, as I said, Kraken and Uniswap. I think we're beyond the days of crypto being an investment for speculation. I think we're now entering in a phase where Bitcoin and the like will be more utility. So, meaning if you want to be out of the system, you go uh, into things like Bitcoin. But what people don't get is Canada is probably the most advanced country when it comes to crypto regulation. This started about 2 years ago. So we have CRA, and I'm going to show you what the laws are currently and have been in place for 2 years. So if you trade crypto or, and this is right from the government, the Canadian Revenue Agency. I don't know why they're not giving Canada the uh, reference on where things will go with crypto. It first started in my province here in Ontario with the Ontario Securities Commission, and it got to a point where Binance eventually left. What happened was they forced uh, companies that were involved in crypto, namely the exchanges, had to get registered um, with the Ontario Securities Commission so that uh, when they want to have access to people residing in Ontario, they had to be registered so that they could get a license from the OSC to be able to participate in the Ontario based market in crypto. Only six companies stayed: Coinbase, Kraken, Crypto.com just came back. Gemini's still here, I believe, and maybe two other. It's a small subset of companies that are registered with the Ontario Securities Commission. So that's one problem. That's why we have a small subset of choice for what exchanges to go with. And there's some other Canadian. I mean, I don't want to go with Canadian. Remember Quadriga FX? You don't want to get caught up in that because you'll lose a lot of money. People lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in that scam with Quadriga. So then what happened was the CRA, Canadian Revenue Agency, our tax authority, started basically reporting business income or capital gain on disposition of cryptocurrency. So what are you going to do? You're going to sell or make a gift of cryptocurrency. If you're going to trade or exchange cryptocurrency, so it's just no matter what you do, it's called disposing. So these are like if you earn and invest in the crypto, once you take it out, that becomes a capital tax event. But here, sell or make a gift of crypto. So what you can put money in the crypto, but once you exit out of crypto, that's the tax event. That's where these laws will take place. So if you trade it or exchange it on one crypto exchange to another, or just trade it. So if you're going to go, I got Bitcoin, now I'm going to sell Bitcoin and buy Ethereum. That is now disposing of one crypto for another. I don't make the laws here. Is what I'm getting out. This is just the start of it. This came into effect maybe 2 years ago. So convert crypto of government issued currency, Canadian dollar, or this is where they get you as well: buy crypto goods or services. So basically, you might as well kiss off crypto in Canada. Investing, buying, selling, buy. You got to tell your tax authority, the CRA, what you're doing with crypto, right? So this is the question: income or capital gain? This is a supposed free country. Following a common signs that you're carrying on with a business, blah, 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 blah. Promote a product or service. Obviously, I'm affected by that. That's why I don't talk a lot. I mean, I like crypto, but you got to be above board. If you intend to make profit from it, blah, 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 right? So other businesses, crypto trading, crypto mining, even ATMs, ATMs. So it don't matter income or capital gain, they're coming after you for that portion, right? So I got out of crypto in vast amounts about 2 years ago. I have less than $100 in trading in crypto. I'm only doing it for performance. And this is the reason why I have so little. As long as I reside in this country uh, that does this, I'm not. I'm interested in crypto, but I'm not a huge participant in crypto. In fact, I had a CRA lead investigator try to infiltrate. Well, they probably still have infiltrated my private chat server. They're probably in there anyways, sniffing around what I'm doing. But I mean, they can have access to my crypto accounts because they know where I trade, which is Binance, which is no longer around. I can't physically trade with them based upon my Canadian IP, my internet IP address. The only one that I'm registered with is, well, actually two: Coinbase, which has less than 20 US dollars in it, and the other one, which is Kraken, less than $100 in it. They can look those up. How? Well, the KYC, right? They know my customer of the exchange, and they can just go to Kraken and say, what's this guy's activity on, right? So they probably done that and realize I'm not participating in crypto. I'll talk about it, but I don't participate in it because of this. So there's all these examples. So this is what you got to do now, right? So if you do mining, blah 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 blah. This is right across Canada for crypto anything. So here's what's expected of you. And if you're going to do this, I'd recommend going with a company like Coin Tracking Info. I'll pull that up. Okay, so if you want easy record keeping, this is where you want to go. You can easily synchronize your crypto exchange with them and your trading. Push a button, you get a report, and you send that off as part of your tax filing for the year. So here's what they want out of you. You should maintain the following records on your crypto transaction: date of transaction, receipt, purchase, and transfer of crypto. So if you're doing hundreds like I was doing with this well, not high frequent, but it's frequent. Let's leave. It's very frequent trading where I went from 250 to over $8,000. They want to see receipts and transfers of those. So as I was with Coin Tracking Info, they were happy to have that. Value of the crypto Canadian dollar. This is the real bad one. Digital wallet records and crypto addresses. So no matter where you have them, no matter what token it is, no matter what coin it is, what blockchain it is, you got to, by law in Canada, register your crypto wallet address. Okay, that's a law. Description of the transaction. So this is what they want. So you have to use this cointracking.info. But this is what we call overburdensome. It's like what I talked about property, owning property, where it's going to go in the West, basically. This is just lead. So if you're trying to escape the system of crypto, good luck with that. You're not going to be able to when they institute these new laws. This is on the books for the last probably 2 years in Canada. So you have to stay above board. Description of the transaction and the other party. Your exchange, if it's Kraken or Coinbase or whoever. So it gets really bizarre. This is why it doesn't work anymore. Okay. And that's my view of crypto ETFs. Simple as that. We'll leave it there. Thanks for watching.